Hi guys, Thogrey here for a new video, and this video will be a tier list video for 2v2 ranged specs for season 2 of Shadowlands. PvP, of course, PvP, because that's the only thing that matters on this channel. And we will discuss about those ranged DPS specs. And of course, you can always check my melee tier list video that will pop up somewhere on the screen. And you can always let me know what you think on this comment section below, or on the other video where I'm discussing about the melee tier list. Has a bit of the same concept where we have God tier, S tier, A tier, B tier and C tier. And you will see there is a lot of surprises on this tier list, because I play loads of specs and I have like a knowledge about those specs. Like I feel like I can understand where the strengths are and where the weaknesses are for those specs. So let's start with this video with, of course, the Arcane Mage. So Arcane Mage, it's a spec that I really like, just because I like the lore, the feeling of playing an Arcane Mage. But they only have one school of spells. They have like some easy patterns that you can follow to actually deny the Arcane Mage to do anything. Again, it feels tanky without being tanky. You can cut him through butter if he don't have the DCDs for it, but a good Arcane Mage can still work this out in 2v2. I think it's better in 3v3, and in comparison with those other specs here listed below, I feel like the Arcane Mage deserves the C tier without being really bad. It's still a mage spec. I think you are really in a disadvantage if you're going for Arcane instead of Frost or Fire. But then again, I'm not saying to change specs if you like Arcane. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Arcane Mages that are really popping off with this season. But I don't know, man. I feel like I'm betraying other specs by putting it higher than C tier shouldn't exist. I think C tier is like the bottom of the barrel. You should try to avoid playing them if you don't like those specs. If you like Arcane, just play it. But then again, if you're forcing yourself to play Arcane, you can unforce yourself and go Fire or Frost, and you will have loads of success with them instead of Arcane. You will see like you're Rock Lee and you're putting those weight off, and you're going to pop off like left and right and center. And with Arcane, like you're putting some weights on you and try to make it work. You're making it yourself harder. That's what I'm telling you. So Boomkin, Boomkin, Boomkin. It is gimmicky, I feel, in 2v2, because often than not they are Night Fae. Often than not they are trying to stall time for the Convoke. But I feel like in season 2 it's not a surprise anymore. It has burst, but the CDs are very long, and in 2s, if you're not using those CDs correctly, I feel like you are in a disadvantage. That's why I'm putting it in A tier. It's still better than B tier. It's still viable. It's very good. Like for me, A tier is very good. It's above average. You can make it work. You can go be a Glad. You can be top 1 with it. But again, I feel like it's gimmicky. You need to play with a healer or with a DPS that has some kind of CC that can help you put out some good damage. Because anyways, if you see a Boomkin, you will focus him and try to force him to go bare form like 80% or 90% of the time. So for me it's an A tier. I think it's better to be played in 3s with them. You have loads of potential, really. But again, it's kill or be killed with this spec. You don't have the consistency to actually kill outside of your CDs. That's my opinion, of course. Affliction Warlock, B tier. I am a Warlock main. I think Affliction is in a real bad spot. In season 1 they had like the slow legendary on the corruption. They nerfed that. I mean, I can understand why, but there is so many bullshit things in this game that I feel like a perma slow is not the most bullshit thing that is in the game, especially if a warrior exists in this game, that a monk exists in this game, or even a freaking retribution paladin that can one-shot anyone at any time. Okay, I've discussed it in the melee tier list video. They are not the god tier spec, but again, in comparison with an Affliction Warlock, I feel like Affliction Warlock are the real wheelchair class of Shadowlands. I mean, they should rework it somehow, some way. Make it become the Cataclysm Warlock that everyone liked, not the since Legion Warlock that has always become like super stale with Deathbolt being meta now. I feel like it's not the Affliction that I like, and it's also resounding that in 2v2 you're really only waiting for dampening in a meta where dampening really never occurs. In 2v2 it's just like 5 minutes in and you have good dampening, but in 3v3, I mean, even Shadowplay is not really Shadowplay anymore. So Demonology Warlocks, that spec is the spec that I'm playing right now on my Warlock. I've made a guide, you will see a video somewhere at the end or in the middle of the video, and it is the best Warlock spec at the moment because they have actual on-demand burst. They have also good demons. You can make it work. You can kill those warrior comps. You can do actually something versus monks. You can actually do something versus retribution paladins. You can actually one-shot people. So that's why it deserves A tier. I think at the same level as Boomkin, that's why it's maybe behind Boomkin. For me, it is really the same because they can kill under CDs, but when they don't have the CDs, then it's more about surviving. Demonology Warlock is a very fun spec because of one legendary, but if the legendaries are gone after Shadowlands, I feel like Warlocks in general are really in a bad spot. Like, I feel like no specs are really fun to play in PvP. They are missing the mark with them, and they need to change something. They need to rework Warlocks like Shadow Priests. They need a full rework somehow, some way, to make it fun for everyone. Even though I'm not asking them to be OP, I'm just asking them to be fun. That's the minimum that we are expecting as a Warlock right now. I think no one is asking them to be OP. They are just asking them to be fun and engaging. And now Demonology Warlock is fun, but tied to a covenant, tied to a legendary, and yeah, it's quite astounding that the next expansion will probably remove all the fun that we have with Warlocks at the moment. BM Hunters, they are the best ranged spec for 2v2. I would say even god tier. It is a defining spec to play in Shadowlands. Like, it's an expansion defining spec to play. Like, BM Hunters, when you're thinking about Shadowlands Season 2, I'm pretty sure you are thinking about BM Hunters and Warriors. They are really too good to be actually in the game. I feel like I've asked for buffs in Season 1 for BM Hunters, but this is too much of a thing. I didn't feel like they were buffing BM, but there is something wrong. Like, when they can run and do nothing all game long but still have more DPS than anyone on the map. They can also play safe and defensive but still have the pump to actually kill your healer under a stun, under a freezing trap on DPS, or vice versa. I don't know, man. I feel like BM Hunters are really the spec of Shadowlands. If you didn't play BM Hunter and you are planning to play BM Hunter, you can safely play BM Hunters because it doesn't seem like Season 3 will change anything for them. So yeah, if you like consistency, if you like burst damage, if you like to be able to kill anyone at any time without CDs or with CDs, I can only recommend BM Hunters, even though I feel like it is a dirty spec to play. It is really annoying to play against. And I feel like it's also it's fun to play with the Hunter. But if you're the enemy, you need to play versus like BM Hunters as an Affliction Warlock is a nightmare. Like, you cannot dot them, you cannot stop them, you cannot do anything versus them. It is actually a super big counter. In 2v2 they are kings. Destruction Warlocks, they are in the same boat as the Affliction Warlock. In 2s, for sure. I think in 3s they are a little bit higher. In twos, they are a bit, I would say they are at the same level as Affliction. They lack the opportunity to actually kill people solo with some setup. I feel like the setup is way too long, the cast time is way too long, you have so many opportunities to actually die as a Destruction Warlock. I feel like they missed the mark on this expansion for Warlocks. They need to change something. Like, if you go for Necrolord, you have like Incinerate being able to actually crit for 12k, 13k, maybe more. But it's gimmicky. Again, it's gimmicky. The Chaos Bolt hits not for that much. I feel like an execution on a warrior, which requires little to no setup, little to no. There is no cast time. There is even a charge tied to it, and they hit harder than a Chaos Bolt, and that's, for me, it's a big problem. I think Destruction Warlocks should not be at BFA level, but they actually need to be scary at Chaos Bolts. Like, if you can face tank Chaos Bolts, then I think there is something wrong with Destruction. So, it's B tier. Elemental Shaman. If you like to actually play for long term and try to have longer games but still win because of control, because of your damage, because of your consistency, I think Elemental Shaman could be something for you. It's the same vein as Frost Mages. You cannot win at the first seconds of the arena popping off, for example, like a Demonology Warlock or like a Boomkin or like a Fire Mage. But if you like to play like the dampening meta-ish, it is the best class that can actually do that. I think it's even better than Affliction. It has also some dispel protection on the Flame Shock, which hits like a truck when they dispel. So there is now some positives to it. I think it is the best A tier spec in front of Elemental Shaman. I really am excited for Elemental Shaman to be true, but I think the only problem with Elemental Shaman is that you need to play with a healer in twos. In double DPS, problem is you will get trained all game long. Like, you can still have some damage here and there, but you cannot do the things that Elemental Shaman could do in twos with a healer, for example. So that's why I recommend to play with a healer if you play Elemental. They have some insane burst, they have some consistent damage, and actually I really like the playstyle. I think Elemental Shaman is in a right spot. I just think that 9.2 will make them even better with the tier sets. So I'm actually excited for this class. I'm playing Enhancement, but I might play a little bit more Elemental in the future. Frost Mages, they are super interesting. They have loads of good builds. They are really fun to play. I think they are at the same level as Elemental. I want to put them in S tier, but I feel like it is in the same vein as Elemental. It plays for dampening. Yes, you can one-shot people, but then again, you play with a healer as Frost Mage. You will not play as double DPS, but then again, if you play double DPS, why not play Fire Mage? Frost Mages needs a little bit more time to actually pop off, to actually put some setup to it, and to actually kill people. You will need to have the liberty to actually cast some frostbolts. And in twos, if you are getting trained all game long, this setup never really comes. You will play more with Icelands instead of frostbolts in twos, and that's why I'm putting it in A tier. But in threes, I feel like Frost Mage is in a really good spot paired with another class that I'm going to discuss in a future video. Fire Mages are a S tier spec, really good, very strong. They actually still are combust dependent, but they have so many things to make it like come back a lot sooner with Night Fae or with the talents that you can use for kindling to actually get back the combust faster. They are a really good spec. They can be played with a healer and with a DPS. I think they are in the right spot. They need maybe a nerf to the burst damage and a buff to the consistent damage, so that you actually feel like you're doing something else outside of combust. But I think there is a lot of positives to say about Fire Mage. That's why they deserve the S tier spot. Hunters, they are better than Fire Mage for me right now. I think the Hunters are really in a great spot in twos. Marksmanship Hunter, if you pair it with a DPS, you can still one-shot. If you pair it with a healer, you can go for crazy games with big burst or big consistent damage. You still have great CC. You have like 3 good covenants to play. You can go Kyrian if you want to boost some people, I would say. You can go for Necrolord for that crazy legendary one-shot, or you can go Venthyr for those kill shots that can hit like a truck. Believe me, Marksmanship Hunters, they are really in a great spot. I think they are going to be better in 9.2. I don't know. I'm not asking for nerfs. I'm just maybe for a nerf into the utility department. Maybe nerf the legendary Craven Stratagem, so that they are forced to actually go for damage instead of just surviving comps and kill them outside of defensive CDs. Like, they need some kind of nerfs. I would say Craven Stratagem instead of their damage. I think that their damage are what they are, making the class a little bit funner to play. I'm not asking for Borefest consistent damage dampening games. I'm asking just for consistency, that the burst spec should not be a spec that can survive everything and anything. So Shadow Priests are the second, the third best one, because the BM Hunter is the first one. I think it's better than Fire Mage. Shadow Priest with the Necrolord legendary is really obnoxious. They hit a lot better than even the Tyrants from the Demonology spec. They are now a pet class and they are very strong. I feel like they are actually disgusting to play versus. You need to focus them, but still, if you are playing versus a Shadow Priest with a Red Paladin, or Shadow Priest with a Boomkin, or Shadow Priest with a Fire Mage, or Shadow Priest with a healer, I always feel like you are in a problem in a way or another. So this is the tier list that I'm going to explain. Actually, it is actually a very good tier list, a very balanced tier list. You have like 2 B tier specs, the Warlocks of course. You have 1 C tier spec like the Fury Mage on the mid tier list, but I feel like the meta is very good for ranged DPS. I think the only boomman that you can actually face is the Warriors. The Warriors are still really going in a rampage. They need to get nerfed somehow, some way. I'm not asking for DPS nerf. I'm just asking for a defensive or utility nerf. They need to have some way of a trade-off with their DPS. I think def stance should be like 20% defense and minus 40% offensive, so that you have actually a choice where if you're going def stance, it is to survive and not to DPS, because some warriors just toggle on the def stance and never toggle off, and that's why I'm asking for that nerf. And the same will be said for the BM hunters. They need to have some consistency damage off and their burst can stay, or the burst damage goes off and the consistency can stay, but not the two. You cannot have a perfect class or a perfect spec, because this is the situation that you are creating. So thank you for watching the video. Please let me know in the comments below what you think about the video. Like if you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you like PvP content, if you like to have WoW in-depth guide about a specific class. For example, I'm playing loads of classes. For now I have like 4 classes where I'm trying to get as high as a rating as possible. And thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye.